We've made it to the final book read of 2021. Myself and the ladies of ICU Reading and Social Network took on Young Boys Incorporated, the Autobiography of Butch Jones. Y'all want to hear what I thought about it? Here we go.
It's gonna be the intro to your book review. Right.
Before basketball players were demanding multi-million-dollar salaries and actors were getting $10, $15, $20 million a movie, over 3 decades ago, the notorious Butch Jones, infamous leader of the drug gang Young Boys Incorporated, was grossing well over $35 million a year selling heroin on the streets of Detroit. In this extraordinary account of this rags to riches story, Raymond Canty and Julius Justice collaborate with Butch Jones to tell a story unlike any ever told in the history of man. This is because never on the streets of any country has anyone ever organized a group of inner city youth who could figure out, equal to any Fortune 500 company, the magic it takes to build an empire which would include over 1,000 employees. Butch Jones, the autobiography, is a story that you will never, ever forget. So listen, I was really excited about reading this book, right? Because in case you didn't know, I am a born and bred Detroit lady, okay? And so knowing that this book was based on true history and facts of my city, I wanted to know more about it. I was intrigued. So definitely looked forward to this read. But you know how you get yourself all excited about something, and then when you finally get it, it just lets you down? Well, child, that is exactly what happened with this book. It was a complete letdown. Okay, well, maybe not a complete and total letdown. There were a couple things that I liked about it, but there was way more things that I didn't like than I did. So, I'm going to tell you guys about what I liked first, because it wasn't much. And then I'm going to tell you about those areas that I think definitely needed to be improved. And I'm going to tell you about some of the stuff that was just bad, and it really wasn't no changing it because it just was what it was. So one of the things that I did like about this book was the language. Like, there's a certain way that older cats from the city of Detroit talk, and you could definitely see that tone throughout the book. And I'm talking about dudes that's probably like in their mid-50s or so. They just talk a certain kind of way. They got a certain kind of swag about them. And it definitely was reflecting in the way that this book read. Now that I say that though, that was probably one of the things that I liked and disliked about the book. Oh, goodness gracious. How am I about to get through this? I'm going to tell you more about what I mean in a little bit. But I guess when it comes to that, I can only probably give it about a half star. Because there was some other stuff going on with the way that they talked in this book that definitely wasn't thumbs upable. Now, the other thing that I did like about the book was that it was actually kind of funny. Like, Butch seems to have this mentality of, I'm going to say what I want to say, and ain't nobody going to check me. Like, who going to check me, boo? And he talked like that throughout the whole book. Like, he was legit talking directly to people. Like, he knew they was going to be reading the book, so he was saying stuff directly to them. And I just thought that was freaking hilarious. And, yeah, I would have to say that's about all that I really kind of found that I liked about the book. And now I guess it's probably time for me to tell you about those things that just did not tickle my fancy. Y'all ready? Here we go. First things first, the doggone formatting was terrible. Now, I was reading the ebook, and I don't know if it has something to do with them switching it from a paperback to an e-read, and somewhere it just got all convoluted, and it was a whole mess. Like, it was words that you thought you knew what the word was supposed to be, but it didn't look like what it was supposed to. So you had to assume that that was what the word was. And I was thinking maybe it was my device. But come to find out, it was just the way that it was written, because all the other ladies was having the same problem as well. And I just thought that that was really crappy. And then there was also this awkward placement of news articles into the reading. So one minute you're reading the book and it's just a regular old autobiography narrative, and then the next thing you know, you're reading a news article from Detroit Free Press. And it was just plopped down in there. The transition of it was just terrible, and I wasn't here for it. It made it kind of difficult to stay in a good flow reading the book. And then some of the articles where they were putting it didn't really go with what we were just reading right before it or what came right after it. So, yeah. All I was thinking to myself after I got done reading that book was, now you done sat up here and you done bragged about all of these millions of dollars that you done got, but ain't nobody thought to go and pay for an editor? Shameless plug moment. If by chance you are in need of some editing services, by all means check out Denise Black of Made for This Editing. You will not be disappointed. So along with the bad formatting and editing, there's something else that I did not care for when it came to reading this book, and that was just Butch Jones overall. Like, this book really gave me the impression that he is a very braggadocious man and didn't really have regrets about the things that he did in his past, which he did some pretty bad stuff. Like, aside from when he was a member of Young Boys Incorporated, prior to that, he was just out here being a complete and total menace to society. And I don't know that by the time you got through the book that you really got the impression that he felt the way about it. Like, he didn't really regret it. And real talk, he's sitting in jail right now, because after the book was written back in like 96 or something, he done went back to jail, and that's exactly where he at right now, trying to get him a COVID release. In the words of the late James St. Patrick, I knew you end up here, little ninja, right where you belong. And another thing, I didn't like all these names that we got in this book, because I feel like he was low-key snitching, because he was just a little too gung-ho to be naming off, everybody. Okay, like, we're not about to remember all of these people's names. We don't want to know all of the lieutenants of YBI. Like, some of these people that moved on in their lives and they doing other things, and they do not need to be called out in no books about organized crime. Like, I just feel like the feds probably grabbed that book up and read it and arrested some more folks, including Butch. And then while you playing, I got a little tea for y'all. So we was out at the bar and grill, and my homegirl, she get to chit-chatting with this man who had just got out of jail recently, right? Trust me, when you are from Detroit or the Detroit metropolitan area, honey, you was going to meet you a man who'd have been locked up. It's just is what it is, okay? But anywho, they just a chit-chatting and everything, and come to find out, he done been locked up with Butch. And remember when I told y'all I just got this snitch vibe just from reading the book? Well, he low-key confirmed that I wasn't wrong, because, I rarely am. But that's just some alleged little gossip, honey. Don't take that no further than right here. And since I'm being messy, honey, I might as well keep on riding in this lane. So while I was preparing to do this podcast, I guess you can say, because y'all can't see me on today. So this is kind of like my first podcast. So anywho, while I was getting ready to do this podcast, I was, looking up a few things and getting pictures and, articles and all this kind of stuff. And I stumbled upon some other information from some other people who were a part of YBI back in the day too. And so, when you are getting information from like the main publications, they always gonna kind of feed you a certain type of story. You know what I'm saying? But when you really start to go talk to the people who are like really in the streets, they gonna keep it all the way 100 with you. And so I ran across a couple of articles and some photos and grabbed up a few things that I thought I would share with y'all on today. Y'all check this out.
They had put down the actual founders of the game, which would be Bone Man, God rest his soul, Umdu Allah. But him, WW, who's also dead, and Chuck Lindsay, those are the three founders. And Baby Ray, Raymond Peoples. It's four of them. Them the four top dogs who led the game. And we all followed. And the only living original leader is Chuck Lindsay right now. Chuck a luck.
I didn't hear him mention Butch, which wouldn't be the first time that I've heard people bypass him as being one of the founders of the organization. But then again, one of the other writers of this book was the Baby Ray guy. So I would think that if he wasn't really one, then somebody would have said something when it came to writing this book. But, I mean, child, who knows? But I'll say this. He is not as liked out here in these streets as some may think. Check this out. Y'all see this? I really need to quit being messy, y'all. So listen, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you know every time that I upload a video, please. And so now, without further ado, I'm going to tell you all how many acrylic nails Tim Telling Tales gave the autobiography of Butch Jones. This book got 2 acrylic nails. I'm pretty sure you all saw this coming. Knew we was not about to get this book no stellar review because it wasn't a stellar book. So we went out of 2021 with a dud, but that's okay because come 2022 January, I done picked a heck of a book, y'all. Y'all got to get ready to read along with me and ICU Reading and Social Network because we will be reading Yellow Wife, y'all, and I have already locked in a live interview with the author. So Miss Johnson is going to be coming. She's going to be on the live, and I'm excited for it. So don't fret about the bad 2021 December book, baby, because January is about to be on fire. So y'all, I hope that you have had an amazing and wonderful 2021, and I am wishing you big and better blessings in 2022. I'm Tam. I'm telling tales. Read a book.